Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is Sub-Zero 3639 coming back to you to basically break down the thug and the thug culture, just give a brief synopsis of how it came about, what it represents, and how I don't think it represents black masculinity nowadays, because masculinity needs to be better defined, because I think we've kind of gotten away from certain attributes of what a real man is, and a thug is anything but that. I think they're very emotional. They're characterized by emotion. They're not logical for the most part. Now there are some very intelligent thugs, but I'm going to go into why intelligence doesn't necessarily break down to smarts. There's a difference. And what I mean by that is you can be intellectually gifted. You can have very great cognitive abilities as a thug. Many people were born with IQs of 140, 135. Some of these guys, if you watch American Gangster, some of those guys, when they were tested in prison, tested at 150, 160. Very intelligent guys. But if you've really kept up with the science of intelligence, and I try to study intelligence and read, and I do different books and stuff, and there's one book that really deals with emotional intelligence, and it basically talks about how if you can't control your emotions and what you tell yourself and how you control and how aware are you of your own emotions, how aware of your own feelings, how that really dictates success or failure. That's a more accurate measuring stick. There's a book I read by Malcolm Gladwell called The Outliers, and it just went through all these different people with these extremely high IQs. But if you don't have people skills, or you don't have those certain intelligence emotionally, then your life is going to take a downturn. Now, one of the things that characterizes a thug is they're very big on respect, and they're willing to die for it. Let me first before I go into that, let me go and tell you where they came from. The thug initially was created by the federal government. They were created in a lab, so to speak. Not actually created in a lab, but basically they were a byproduct or a derivative of the Lyndon Baines Johnson social programs. Before we had projects, we had neighborhoods and ghettos, things of that nature. But these projects later became enclaves of much criminal miscreants and activity. And the way that happened was because, basically, you basically created the women were allowed to get on these social programs. And in order to get on these social programs, we all know you couldn't have a man or a male father figure in that house. And they would literally come out to the houses to see if a man was there. And so what happened was, men started having sex with multiple women. Like they'd always been. I'm not saying that they weren't, but they decided to not be in the home. And in doing so, they started to allow for children to be raised by television, culture, things of that nature. Well, that kind of backfired in the 70s. We had the pimp culture and things of that nature. That was really kind of being pushed to us. And it caught on, but it didn't catch on as heavy. And then the 80s comes around, and there's this group of individuals coming from Los Angeles called Niggas with Attitudes. And they were pushed by the Jews. And when they came, I remember I was a kid. And I remember when I was very little, Michael Jackson, Prince, everybody was trying to have the best curl, who can dance, who can do all the moves. Guys used to actually battle. Guys used to literally face each other, battle, and pop lock and do things. Like, I remember those days. Those were innocent times. Did we have thugs back then? Yes. Did we have killings? Yes. But there was an explosion. And what happened, we can go to the federal government and talk about how they pump drugs in the community, and Danilo Blandone selling drugs to all different connections all over the United States, not just Freeway Rick. He was a connection for people all in the South, Midwest and all over the country. And the government, basically, when he went to jail, he got out and he got 6 months in jail and got out and got a job. Then he got sent back home to Colombia, his home country. But in doing so, you take that crack culture, you couple that with a group of individuals from Los Angeles, and they're bragging and saying these incredible feats, as main sources say, front and saying they're killing cops and F the police, and we whoop the cops' ass, and we're doing these things. And believe me, every black man wants to whoop the cops' ass, because who hasn't been fucked with by a cop, right? So that was popular, and they got a pass for that. Because see, at the time, prior to that, music was black owned. Hip hop was a joke to most people in mainstream society. So it was a rebel music. And you had Public Enemy, you had Eric B. and Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Run DMC, who was the biggest one at the time, Salt and Pepper, Kid and Play. These were middle class black people as far as Salt and Pepper, Kid and Play, their type of music related to everybody. It was, most middle America, so to speak. There's not really a big black middle class. Black kids that didn't sell drugs, which was actually a larger percentage than the actual thugs, appealed to Kid and Play and different music like that. We had a group of people back then called Native Tongue, and Native Tongue was comprised of the Jungle Brothers, Queen Latifah, Moni Love, Tribe Called Quest. Very positive music. I grew up, that's what I really like, listening to Tribe Called Quest. That's one of my favorite groups. And it was just about having the hottest bars, dropping the best lyrics. And one of my other favorite rappers, Big Daddy Kane, I literally had every part he had. If I saw Big Daddy Kane with that part in his head, I got the part. If I saw him, acting a certain way, I tried to take pictures. I got pictures where I'm sitting up there with my hand on my chin trying to look like him. I love Big Daddy Kane, Eric B. and Rakim. That's who I tried to emulate. I was a kid, I was young and impressionable. And so this was when everybody was wearing the medallions with Africa medallions, and people were, you had, what's that show? A Different World. It was a big renaissance of people wanting to go to a HBCU. Everybody wanted to pledge these Greek fraternities and sororities. And I used to go in the summers, in NYSP was a program. I used to go to Alabama State University, and I would see all these deltas and AKAs on the yard, and they'll be strolling. And I knew then I wanted to go to a HBCU. I wanted to go and get me a delta. I thought they were the most beautiful women in the world. And I'm saying all this to say, this is before their culture, before the hip hop, or should I say, the gang culture really infiltrated music. Then they dropped the movie Colors, and it showed something. It hit like a tornado. Everybody that was anybody wanted to be a Crip or a Blood or a Black Gangster Disciple, Vice Lords. That I didn't know what that was. I remember one summer. It was before that movie hit, and I was in school, and I was in like 5th grade, 6th grade. That movie hit. Everybody was talking about it, but we didn't really know any real gang members. I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. And all of a sudden, a few individuals that lived in California actually moved to Alabama. And when they moved, whether or not they were real gang members, we still don't know. But these guys came and they brought their gang culture. And when I tell you within a summer, by the next fall, when I went to school, the whole damn school was in the game. Girls, boys, it took over. And then that didn't help. You cut the TV on, and every day all you see is Rap City with Eazy-E and MC Ren and Yellow Boy and all these guys and Dr. Dre, and they talking about bitch this and hoe this and suck my dick and this and that. Bitches ain't shit and all that came. Then the Chronic came. It just became a culture of just disrespecting women, being thugs, and it was a bad time. You can even look in R&B. R&B music we still controlled that at the time. We still controlled R&B. It was different. It was Babyface. It was the Face Records. It was more making love, I love you, and this and that. Then it just shifted. And this started in the 80s with NWA, and it came, and now it has gotten to the point we have degenerated so bad through our music to where now it's almost unfair. None of these kids now have any reverence. They don't really respect the craft of hip hop. They don't respect the forefathers of those that paved the way for them to be doing what it is that they do. And I'm saying all this to say this. This is where the thug came from. See, the thug, basically, like I said, in the 60s, they had all these social programs, and they had the projects built, and all of them lived in the projects, and then the father was removed, so they're growing up without fathers. They're looking to find real manhood. They don't have a real outlet. No one's there to mentor them, so they learn from their mothers. And I'm not gonna go into whether a thug is feminine or not, but I'm gonna say this. I think they're very feminine in that they can't control their emotions. They're like a city with no walls. I mean, if you bump into a thug, there's a good chance that you could lose your life. And this is the thing with the thug. If you understand the psychology of the thug, this is the thing. He grew up and he watched his mom. See, his mom is a lady. So if you hit a lady, the first thing a woman's gonna say is, "How dare you hit me? I'm a woman," right? You don't have the right to hit me. I'm a woman. You're not supposed to hit me. How dare you do that, right? Flip it on its ear. If you bump into a thug, or and he says something to you, and the first thing the thug's gonna say is, "How dare you actually have the audacity or the balls to stand up for yourself as a man?" See, the thug doesn't think. He thinks you're crazy, or at least they portray it as you're crazy for even speaking up for yourself. This is the psychology of the thug. He thinks that he's supposed to get away with things because his mom does. If you go on World Star Hip Hop to back what I'm saying, most of those videos are women fighting. World Star brought this out into the forefront. A lot of women in the hood, ratchet women turning, going, fighting 5 and 6 at a time, grabbing each other by the hair. That's your mom. You got little babies standing there watching. What do you think he's gonna do if he doesn't have a man sitting there saying, "Son, you don't have to go into your emotions every time you get upset. You don't have to get emotional. Every time you get upset, you don't have to fight to the death." One of my favorite movies was Carlito's Way. And the reason Carlito's Way is one of my favorite movies, Carlito thought. He went away, he was young, he was a hothead, he went away to prison, he got out, and he started thinking. He said, "You know what? Maybe I shouldn't do this." He weighed all the options. He was like, "I'm trying to lay low, I'm trying to get out of here, and this is what I'm trying to do." And the thing with the thug, your respect is all you have. They're willing to die for their respect. See, I had a song, "I don't know what you ready to do for your respect, but I'm gonna die for mine ASAP." So this is the thing. They're willing, a thug is literally willing to die because you bumped into him. He's literally willing to fight to the death, like a damn wild pit bull, and you drop him in another pit bull's on. They'll fight to the death, lockjaw and all. They will fight you to the death. A lot of them will, because they feel as though you disrespected them. Now, I'm not saying be a bitch by no stretch. And this is another thing I want to say. I've heard people say things like, "A thug is a real man, and a thug is the guy that will defend his woman." And let me say this right here. I'm a database developer. I'm an architect. If a motherfucker ever disrespect my woman, excuse my French, disrespect me, I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna handle business. Most brothers I know, I don't care who they are. I got homeboys that's 5'6", 150 pounds. They'll fight you. We will fight you about their woman, about their wife, their kids. No man, I don't know any man that'll let a man bust in his front door or in his window at night, try to steal what he has. He don't stand up and defend it, and defend what's his to the death. There are times where you need to fight. I'm not saying there aren't, but I'm not gonna fight you to the death because I bumped into your damn bumped into you or stepped on your joints, because I got shit to do. I ain't got time to be sitting up in no hospital. I don't have time to be fighting your ass and going to jail. Or see, that's thinking. See, you weigh shit out. And this studies have shown this. People with higher IQs are more apt and more prone to think before they act. This is a basic fundamental principle. Now, am I saying, this is what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that I'm better than a thug. I'm not saying that thugs can't be reformed. I'm not saying they can't be intelligent. I've met some very intelligent thugs, natural born leaders. But because they can't control their emotions, the trajectory of their life is sent down a path that it probably didn't have to go in. But therein, that's the dilemma of the thug. Now, there are some pros to the thug. For example, the thug understands women in a certain instance. Let me say what I mean by that. When I say understands women, I'm not saying that he's perfect, he's the best lover. What I'm saying is the thug he makes his own rules, he's a rebel, and that seems mysterious to women. Women are drawn to that. I remember I was in school, and I would be in class, and I would be sitting there with certain guys, and these guys later would make the 6 o'clock news, and they doing life right now. Some of these guys I'm talking about for murder, or one of the biggest drug dealers to ever come through Montgomery. He's locked up. He's probably doing 30 years. But anyway, but he was wild. He was crazy. He would sit in class. He wouldn't pay attention. He would get into fights, and he was irreverent. And he was irreverent to women, girls. The girls that in class that everybody thought was just the most beautiful and attractive, and they would intimidate all the guys. He would look at us and call out a name. He would say certain things. And am I saying that that's what you need to do to get a woman? No. But what the thug understands is this: when you talk to a woman like that, first thing, a pretty woman, especially a woman that everybody kisses her ass because she got a fat ass and a pretty face, when you talk to them, when you treat them like that, they look at you like, damn, he ain't kissing my ass like everybody else. And a young girl, especially a young girl, now a woman understands, thinks a little different, but when she's young and she's in that attention stage, she wants you to break. She wants to break you. She wants you to. So you're somewhat of an enigma to her, and the thug is an enigma to a lot of beautiful women because they're unlike a lot of guys. They're not kissing their ass. A lot of thugs don't. Most of them don't, because they get plenty of women. And what happens is, I remember a guy called a girl out her name and said, "When you gonna let me get that ass?" And everybody was like, "Whoa!" And she looked at him and frowned. So yeah, I was like, "Oh," and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, he'll never." Not taking in mind I'm young and inexperienced. I said, "Oh, he'll never get a shot at so and so," right? Lo and behold, about a month later, there was a house party, and everybody went. And word is he was there, and I didn't go, but he was there. He was dancing with her. He got up on her, and next thing you know, he got the ass. And I'm sitting like, whoa, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about the thug. The thug, he has a lot on his side, because when you cut the TV on, right? Like Chris Brown, I can look at Chris Brown. Chris Brown's not really a thug. He's a thug now, but if Chris Brown didn't have the Crips behind him, if Chris Brown didn't have all that behind him, would he be as turned up as he is? I don't think so. I think not. Now, would he? I'm not saying he won't do crazy things, but he won't be as adventurous as he is. He won't threaten people like he does. He threatened Drake today because Drake said something about this ain't a Chris Brown show, but he knows I got these goons. He knows I can say and do whatever I want because I'm Chris Brown and I got thugs on payroll, just like Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy was in Atlanta at the compound, threatened the guy because the guy wasn't drinking Ciroc. I mean, let's go figure. So what I'm saying is, thugs a lot of times have a lot of things going their way, the music, the television, and so they present this mystique to a lot of sisters. Oh man, he's a real man. Real men enforce their will. See, you a man, the first thing you're supposed to do is build. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Not only are you supposed to build, you should control your emotions. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. I hear people talking about so-and-so's a real nigga. But see, if you can't control your emotions, then I struggle to understand why you're a real man, because when a situation arises where it's time for you to kick in and think logically and not be emotional, it thugs will struggle with that. They can't think logically. They get emotional because that's all they know, because that's what they've been around. When you had a man in your house and you've been taught certain things, you don't get riled up. You don't get off into small gossipy things with women. When you're around a bunch of women and they get to gossiping, you're not in the conversation. It's just certain things that you learn growing up in a house with a father and watching him. I found myself watching my dad. My parents got a divorce, but I saw my dad at least 2-3 times a week, if not more. I saw him all the time. He would come get me on Saturday mornings and make me go working on houses. I hated it. He would make me drop a transmission out of a car, brakes, stuff, shit. Now that if some shit break right now, I know enough to know you ain't finna make an ass out of me. Even though this is a 2012 car we got, you ain't finna come tell me that if the damn gear shift break, that you need to do X, Y, Z on the damn, on something else. You're not gonna make an ass. I actually had that happen one time. So real manhood is staying and being consistent and strong and being that I guess, I don't know, for lack of a better word, but you're basically that hammer, that nail that holds down the whole structure. You're the center stone, the cornerstone. You're the cornerstone. Even in an ark, if you understand architecture, the ark has a centerpiece in architecture that if you take that centerpiece out, it'll collapse. That's what the man represents. He's strong, he's in the middle, and he holds everything together. When you get with a woman, when you have a family unit as a whole, and life happens, things happen, you guys have financial struggles or anything, that man is the one that when he comes home, everybody relaxes because they know he's gonna take care of things. Well, shit, man, if your ass locked up and running from the police, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't raise a family. See, a man, he thinks ahead of, he thinks in the future. Women like comfort. They like things to be comfortable. They like things to be, they like to know where their next meal's coming from. They like to know, for matter of factly, where things are coming from, which is good because it makes a man have to make certain decisions. But also, that man thinks about the future in a way that's different than a woman, because that man is saying, yeah, we got this now, we need to be comfortable now, but maybe we don't need to get, a steak today. Maybe we need to get this because I'm worried about, paying this bill or how we're going to run this business, because he's the leader. He makes certain decisions. Now, what are all this stuff I'm saying see, this is the thing. It's not concrete with thugs. Thugs are like a gas man. Like if you look at a thug, you got E for empty, F for full, right? So you got EL for educated lame and T for thug. And it's like a gas meter. And a lot of times when women say they want a thug, they want a guy that's got the educated lame aspects, but he's almost in the middle. He's still got that edginess. He's kind of got a little thug in him. He's on 2/3 of a tank or whatever. That's how they think. So it's okay to have that. A lot of brothers have that in them. Tupac said it best. Every nigga in LA got a little bit of thug in them. So let me add this. One thing I did want to also bring to the equation is this. To understand the thug, you have to understand the mindset of a predator. What do I mean by that? It's as simple as this. Let's take a woman, let's say she's 5'7", 120 pounds, right? She's got a new a son, a child, or whatever, baby. Say the baby's 10 months old. And let's take that same woman. Let's get her away from her baby. She's walking through a dark alley by herself, and she sees this big, muscular, muscle-bound thug, pants hanging off his ass. She gets scared. She freezes like a snake like a mouse in a snake cage. Literally about to pee on herself. She's afraid, right? Fast forward, or change that situation. Let's say that same woman who has that fear of that thug, let's say she's at home one night, her husband's away or whatever, and she hears a 10-month-old screaming. She runs in the room, And lo and behold, that same guy is creeping in through the window, trying to get her baby. Is she gonna freeze then, or will she change? See, the mindset of a thug is all, and I learned this from a guy, a mixed martial arts guy taught me this. He said, the predator mindset is a lot of times what people use to navigate, as a thug. And what he's saying is, if you watch fights, go watch a lot of fights, you can almost tell before the fight who's going to win and who's going to lose. The predator or the thug, a lot of times who's the predator or plays the role as the predator, is the guy who is the aggressor. He knows, he feels that, even though it's not a lot of power, he has power because he knows this guy's afraid of me. This guy knows I'll whoop his ass, so he's scared. And usually, if you're afraid, you're gonna get your ass whooped, right? So what happens with thug is they use that benefit. And a lot of times thugs understand the psychology of they innately grasp this mindset of the predator. So they know that in certain times thugs don't even have to fight. A lot of times they intimidate other brothers, because what they do is they come at you with a mindset of, they'll say something or they'll do something in such a way to intimidate you, to take the heart out of you. This is what the thug relies on a lot of times. They avoid fights. They don't have to a lot of times because they're aggressive and they're not afraid of confrontation. They're the predator. They go up to the problem is with thugs is when they run into that brother, that educated lame that don't give a fuck. That's like, what you want to do. Then a lot of times it's just who has the better skills at fighting. I've seen a lot of times. I remember I was in high school. This guy from Miami, he was a thug and big guy. He played football. 6'4", 200, and just real big. I forget. He was almost 300 pounds, and he was a thug. And he had this real mindset of being a real guy that was gonna go out there and cause drama. And he ran up against a basketball player. And the guy that played on the team with me, strong guy, played power forward, but he was never about 6'2", real strong, athletic guy, kind of shaped like a running back, basically. Stocky little guy. He could jump out the gym. Me and him was pretty cool. So they got in a fight, and the basketball player beat the brakes up out this guy, and it was embarrassing. Like, he beat the shit out of him. Number one, he wasn't afraid. And a lot of times with thugs, they assume that you're not. Now, not all of them. If a thug is smart, he understands certain things, but he understands to be careful and circumspect of his surroundings. But if you're not careful with a thug, you will, so I've seen people not respect thugs. They're very, disrespectful, and they think, yeah, man, he's a knucklehead. He ain't gonna do nothing. And the brother wind up dead, shot in ICU. The brothers I see, I heard a friend tell me this. He said, man, I'm scary. I'm afraid. I'm very afraid. I don't give a damn if a nigga is 5'2", 100 pounds. I'm gonna take his ass serious, and I'm gonna go full throttle. So, but the thing is, with a thug, do you really want to take it that far? Do you really want to take it to the end? Do you really want to? I got shit to do. I got a life. I can't be out here fighting you or doing certain things, and that's where a lot of times you have to steer clear of the thug. You have to stay away from. You have to think for both him. It's just like when you drive. You have to think for the other driver and yourself. When you get around thugs, you need to say, I need to stay away from this brother, because I see his mind and he's not mature. He's acting in such a way to where he's gonna make me have to really do something that I really don't want to have to sacrifice. And because you got that fear of sacrificing your life or your freedom or your health or anything, or you don't want to go that far, so what you do is you stay away from it. But these brothers are out there, and to sit and act like that they don't exist, or a lot of times people try to act like, well, the thugs, girls want thugs because they're just bad guys. No, girls want thugs because a lot of times, like I said in the other video, they present an era or an aura of being confident. They present this bad boy, mysterious. They keep women guessing. So a lot of times women tend to gravitate towards them. But to sum it all up, I just think that they're a scourge on the community for the most part. And I think that even the smart ones a lot of times use it in the wrong way.